Hello, welcome to another O&DR Modurol video. This is video V209 in our series of XK8 videos. In this video we're going to take a look at the brake microswitch, the brake pedal microswitch, how to replace it, how to access it. There are a couple of types and it is quite tricky. So while I've got the pedal box out and doing my manual transmission conversion, it's a bit of an opportunity to, with the good access we got, to try and explain this microswitch and how to fix it. Let's go into the footwell then. Obviously my brake lever is removed, and you can see the socket there the brake switch is supposed to be connecting. Now if you look to the right, you can see the gold bracket, and there's a lower stud and an upper stud. I think you can just about see that. Now the lower stud, if you're lucky to have the later one, that's the stud, the nut you need to undo. You don't need to undo the upper one, which I'll explain in a moment. If we look from the upper side then, at the pedal box and the bracket fixing from the top, it's actually fixed by these two screws, these two nuts here. Obviously the later type do not undo those, which I'll explain in a minute. And I think hopefully you can see the bracket in there, through there you can see the bracket and that lower stud, and that's the daddy you're after if you're lucky enough to have the later one. Anyway, I'll explain more detail in a moment. With the brake lever or pedal in situ, it's a little bit more tricky, but you can still get at that bottom nut. And obviously to get the plastic housing out, you can move the brake pedal backwards and forwards to get better access. So if you see this when you're looking through the footwell, you're going to need to take off the two nuts to get that one out, because the microswitch is on the other side, you can't get at it. However, if you see this type of plastic box, you can undo this nut and take it out. Now these are both 3-bolt and 4-bolt servos, right hand drive. If you've got left hand drive, the situation is the same. The only difference being the pedal box is the same, just the pedal arm is different, it's bent more to the right. This rod here is slightly shorter to meet the same position, so slightly less access to get the switch box off, but basically it's still doable. So looking at the bracket, you can see the bracket's fixed with these two nuts we saw in the car, and there's a plastic assembly bolts here and here on the later cars, so you don't need to remove the whole thing to repair it. It's actually a step up from the original one, which I'll show you here. This is the original design. It's a bracket, and the microswitch, the brake microswitch, is actually riveted, I don't think you can see here, to the metal bracket, and you've got your lever here. This is there's a rod coming off your brake pedal here, and when you release the brake, it's actually compressed, and when you release the brake pedal, it's actually compressed like this when the brake pedal is forward. When you release the brake pedal or depress it, it releases the microswitch, and that's how it works. And you can see there's only 2 pins in the connector. This is a non-cruise control. If you have cruise control, there's a secondary microswitch working on top of that. But as I say, this is how the early ones work. The part number, I think, is on here. LHF 6420CA. if you get a brake light fail or a cruise control fail, chances are it's one of these micro switches has gone. If you have the earlier cars, it's a bit of a devil because you have to undo the two nuts here, drop the whole bracket, and actually trying to get this back up into there is quite tricky and definitely a two-man job. So how do they improve it with the later ones? So this is the later bracket design. They say it's a lot simpler. This part number is LJB 6420AB, and you can see you can't see the micro switch anymore. It's in this plastic housing. Now the beauty of this is this plastic housing can be removed without removing the bracket quite easily. You just have to remove this nut. I've already done so, which you can access in the car. I've shown you that. And you basically pull it off the bottom nut, and it slides out from under the top one, and then it's loose. If you clip off the wiring zip tie, you can remove it from the car fairly easily. I say fairly easy. It's quite tricky in the footwell, as you can see, even with the brake removed. And this time there's a little circuit board with the micro switches soldered to it, and again the operation is the same. And if you've got a cruise control, there's a secondary micro switch. I actually have one of those here. This is that design with cruise control. Again, you just undo the same bottom nut. Let's check out if it's got a second micro switch. Let's have a look here. Here we go. Oh, there you go. And there are the two micro switches. As I say, you don't have to replace the whole thing. It's fairly easy to desolder these, solder a replacement in. I'll put the part number recommended for the replacement micro switch, which actually this is recommended by Gary Van Remortel and his XK Bible. If you're not familiar with that, I'll put a link in the top right hand corner. He has a 2003 model car, and he's done a vast PDF document detailing all the things he's learned about his car. So anyway, it's really, really good if you've got the later cars. Before we finish then, the last thing, if you actually replace this micro switch, you need to make sure there's a bit of adjustment here. You can see there's a little ratchet. When you adjust the micro switch, make sure you're all the way home, pull this all the way out, and then the brake lever will self-calibrate itself against that. Obviously, if that's all the way forward and the brake doesn't quite flick the micro switch on, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to have to take it out again. So there you go. Obviously, reassembly, you just have to slide it underneath, pop it on, and then pop the nut back on. If you're interested in this nut, you need, I've got the socket here, you need, what was it, 8mm. It's an 8mm socket to get that off. With cruise control, the socket is the same, but you have 4 pins because you've got 2 pairs of connections. So there you go. Hopefully that'll help anybody who's got cruise control or cruise control issues, needs to replace their micro switch. Obviously, if you have the earlier type, you're in trouble. The micro switch is very similar, it's slightly different, but you can replace it with the same one. You have to drill out these, riveted on, or ideally pick up one of these later ones, then you don't have to bother if you have problems in the future. This has adjustment in a very similar way, slightly different mechanism, but you need to pull it out to make sure you've got maximum adjustment before you put it all back together. Hopefully that's understandable if you've got problems with your brake pedal switch. I'm actually going to upgrade to the later version just in case I have problems later. While I got the pedal box out, it seems only sensible. And I forgot to mention earlier, the This is the cruise control version, and the part number is LJB 2420BB, as opposed to the non-ABS one. Anyway, I'd like to get all the part numbers. Thanks very much for watching. Got more videos coming up on our manual transmission conversion, so please like, comment, share and subscribe for more XK8 videos. Bye bye.